They say some moments don't just pass. They settle. They sink into you. They sit in the corners of your mind and wait, waiting for a quiet night, a soft song, a familiar smell. And then boom, you're right back there. For me, that moment was my 30th birthday. Not the candles, not the song, not even the gift. It was a look. One single look. And everything after that became a blur I still can't fully explain. It's been 2 years since that night. 2 years of pretending. 2 years of silence I couldn't break, and secrets I couldn't carry out loud. 2 years of shame that clings to me like perfume I never meant to wear. I've asked myself 1,000 times, why did I open that door? Why didn't I just stay in bed? Why didn't I let that moment pass like all the others? But I didn't. I opened it, and what I saw, it still burned into me. Not just in my memory. In my skin. In my breath. In my marriage. You ever have one of those nights where you knew something was coming? Like your heart starts racing before anything actually happens, but you ignore it because you want to believe it's just nerves? That was me. Smiling, laughing, pretending to be the lucky birthday girl. While deep down, I felt something was off. Wrong. Too quiet. Too perfect. They had planned a surprise. My husband. And his best friend. And when I walked into that backyard, with the lights and the champagne and their voices singing my name, I thought, this is it. This is the night I finally feel seen again. But what I didn't know is that sometimes being seen isn't the same as being loved. And sometimes, the people standing beside you aren't really standing with you at all. So, if you've ever had a night you can't forget, one that changed everything, but no one else knows it, then you'll understand. You'll feel this. And if you've ever looked at someone and realized they see you in a way your own partner never did, then you already know how this story ends. But I still need to tell it, because what happened after that surprise wasn't just unexpected. It was unforgivable. Subscribe to Heartfelt Tales Unfold, because some stories aren't just stories. They're confessions. And this one? I've carried it too long. I should have never opened that door. But I did. And what I saw shattered the life I thought I had. I've been married for 7 years. 7 years of birthdays. Anniversaries. Arguments that ended in silence. Dinners where our phones spoke more than we did. Mornings where he kissed our kids, but forgot to kiss me. His name is Daniel. And he used to look at me like I was magic. Now, he barely looks at all. He's not cruel. He's not loud. He's just gone, even when he's sitting right beside me. Always working. Always chasing something just out of reach. And I stopped reaching. There's a certain kind of loneliness that creeps in when you're lying next to someone every night and still feel invisible. It doesn't shout. It just hums. Quiet. Constant. Heavy. I have 2 kids. They love me. They need me. But even they see how tired I've become. Not the kind of tired sleep fixes. The kind that settles into your bones. The kind you start carrying in your smile. I'd stopped expecting flowers. Stopped dressing up for dinner. Stopped checking the calendar for special days because nothing felt special anymore. And then there was Marcus. Daniel's best friend since they were boys. He's been around forever, but never like this. Not this often. Not this close. He had just gone through a divorce. He said it like it didn't hurt, but his eyes told the truth. He started coming over more, helping with the kids. Fixing things around the house Daniel didn't have time for. Bringing little things. My favorite wine, fresh bread from the bakery I loved. Saying he just happened to pass by. He always joked. Always teased. Always smiled at me like I was still someone worth looking at. I laughed. At first. Because it felt harmless. Because I was starving for warmth and I mistook it for friendship. Our home. It's beautiful on the outside. People call it perfect. Big kitchen. Soft couches. Framed pictures that make us look like a happy family. But inside, it's cold. There's no music anymore. No dancing while we cook. Just routine. Noise. Distance. My 30th birthday was coming. And deep down, I didn't expect anything. No dinner plans. No surprise. Maybe a text. Maybe not even that. That's how far I'd sunk, not angry. Just numb. I didn't want roses. I didn't want diamonds. I just wanted to be seen. Just for one day. One moment. One look that said, I still know you. And when Daniel said he had something planned, I smiled. But in my heart, I braced for disappointment. I didn't know Marcus was part of the plan. I didn't know that night would unravel everything. I didn't know how dangerous it is to be noticed by someone when you've spent years feeling invisible. The morning of my 30th birthday felt like any other. The kids were loud. The kitchen was a mess. Daniel was on his phone before I even said good morning. I didn't expect anything, not even a card. But right before he left for work, he kissed my cheek, quick, distracted, and said, "Be ready by 6. I've got a surprise planned." I nodded, but my heart didn't move, because I've heard those words before, and they usually led to takeout and a half-hearted apology. Still, I showered. I put on makeup. I wore the dress he used to love. It felt strange, like dressing up for someone who might not notice. But I did it anyway. At exactly 6, I heard a knock on the door. I opened it, and there they were. Daniel and Marcus. Daniel smiled like he was proud of himself. And Marcus. Marcus was holding a bottle of champagne. And that look in his eyes, it wasn't playful. It wasn't casual. It was steady. Like he was looking through me. "Happy birthday," he said. His voice was low, familiar, soft in a way Daniel's hadn't been in years. They both laughed as Daniel pulled out a scarf. Said he wanted to add a little mystery. Told me to trust them. And just like that, they blindfolded me. I laughed, but it was nervous. I felt Marcus's hand brush mine as he guided me through the house. His touch lingered longer than it should have. Just enough to make me wonder if I imagined it. The air changed the moment we stepped outside. I could smell candles. Hear music. Soft, slow music. Something old. Something beautiful. When they took off the blindfold, I couldn't speak. There were fairy lights strung across the trees. A long table covered in flowers. My favorite foods. Even the playlist we danced to on our honeymoon. It was stunning. More effort than Daniel had made in years. I looked at him, smiling, trying to believe he did this for me, trying to make it mean something. But then I looked at Marcus. And I don't know how to explain it. But it wasn't Daniel's smile that made my knees weak. It was Marcus's eyes. He was watching me. Not in a hungry way. Not in a cruel way. But in that devastating, soul-shaking way that says, "I see you. I've been seeing you." And in that moment, I felt something move inside me. Something I hadn't felt in so long, I barely recognized it. Desire. Not for sex. For closeness. For connection. To be wanted. To be chosen. Daniel raised a toast. He thanked me for being the heart of our home. He said the words, but he never looked me in the eyes while saying them. Marcus did. When I blew out the candles, I made a wish, something childish and sad. I wished to matter again. And while everyone clapped and laughed, I felt it. That ache in my chest. That slow, heavy pull. That dangerous realization. I wasn't falling for Marcus. I was falling for how he made me feel, and that was worse. After the candles were blown out and the plates cleared, Daniel got a phone call. He mouthed work. "I'll be quick," and walked back into the house, already distracted. Just like that, it was me and Marcus. Alone. Under the lights. With the last of the wine and the weight of too many unspoken things hanging between us. He poured me another glass, then one for himself. And we sat there, quiet at first, listening to the hum of the night, the crickets, the wind. Then he spoke. Softly, too softly. He said, This is the first birthday I've been to since my divorce. I turned to him. He wasn't smiling, just staring into the glass like it held a truth he hadn't said aloud before. I didn't know what to say, so I didn't say anything. He kept talking about how it ended, how it started with distance, with routines, with going through the motions until there was nothing left worth saving. And then he looked at me, right into me, and said, "You look beautiful tonight." I laughed, awkward, quick. Said something about turning 30 and hiding wrinkles, but he didn't laugh. He said, "No. I mean, you look like you've been waiting to be seen." My heart didn't just skip. It ached. Because I had. He saw it. The tiredness behind my eyes, the way I clutched my glass too tight, the quiet hope in my smile that maybe, just maybe, someone still noticed. He started telling stories. About Daniel in college. About the three of us back when things were light and easy. And I laughed. I really laughed. The kind of laugh that pulls tears from your eyes because you'd forgotten what joy feels like. And when the music drifted from the speaker again, something slow, soft, familiar, I leaned back. Not to be seductive. Not to send a message. Just to breathe. And when I did, his fingers brushed mine. It was a gentle, accidental thing. But neither of us moved. The air felt charged. Heavy. Like the pause between lightning and thunder. I didn't pull away. And he didn't either. And in that moment, I wasn't thinking about marriage. Or loyalty. Or right or wrong. I was thinking about how long it had been since someone made me feel like I was still here. Like I was still a woman. Not just a wife. Not just a mother. Not just invisible. It felt wrong. God, it did. But it also felt like coming up for air after drowning for years. And maybe that's the worst part, when something forbidden doesn't feel dangerous. It feels like relief. The days after my birthday felt quieter. Daniel went back to work, back to forgetting. Back to dinners eaten in silence, conversations that barely skimmed the surface, kisses that landed somewhere on my cheek but never reached my heart. He said he was tired. Said things were just busy right now. Said he loved me, but love doesn't always sound like love. Sometimes it sounds like absence wrapped in polite words. And Marcus, he didn't disappear. He started showing up again. To drop something off. To check on the kids. To see how the birthday girl was doing. Always casual. Always with that same warmth in his voice, like he knew he was dangerous, but he also knew I wouldn't stop him. I should have. I wanted to. But wanting and doing are two very different things. One night, late, when the house was finally quiet and I was curled on the couch with my phone glowing in the dark, his name lit up my screen. Thinking about you. Hope that's not wrong. I stared at it. Longer than I should have. My thumb hovered over the keyboard. But I didn't write back. And I didn't delete it either. I just let it sit there. Like a secret I hadn't decided what to do with yet. The next day, I told myself I imagined everything. That nothing had really happened. That a text doesn't mean anything. That maybe I was reading too much into it because I was lonely. But then came the next time. He asked if we could meet. Said he wanted help picking out a gift for Daniel, something thoughtful, something personal. And somehow I said yes. We met at a little cafe downtown. The kind with tiny tables and soft music. The kind you don't go to unless you want to be alone with someone. He smiled when he saw me. Not the big kind of smile you give a group. The kind that's just for one person. The kind that says, "I see you." We talked about Daniel. About what he liked. What he didn't. It all felt so harmless on the surface. But underneath, there was something else. Every time his hand brushed the table close to mine, every time he leaned in just slightly too far, every time our eyes met and held a little too long, I felt it. That pull. That ache. That knowing. I told myself I should stop it. I should shut it down. Draw a line and walk away. But I didn't. I just sat there, laughing at his jokes, remembering how it felt to be seen, to be wanted, not for what I could do, not for who I was to someone else, but for the woman sitting there right now. It wasn't what he said. It was how he looked at me. Like I was still worth something. And maybe that was the most dangerous part of all. Daniel had a work trip coming up. Just a weekend. He barely looked up when he told me. Said he'd leave Friday morning. Said he'd be back Sunday night. Said, "You'll be okay, right?" I nodded. Of course I would. I'd been okay for years. Okay with being invisible. Okay with holding everything together while no one held me. Marcus texted that same night. Said he heard Daniel was leaving. Said, "Let me know if you need anything. I can stop by, keep you company." I stared at the message. Every part of me screamed no. Every part of me that still remembered my vows, my children, my name, whispered no. But the lonely part? The part that hadn't been touched in years? The part that craved laughter, conversation, warmth, that part said yes. And that's the part that won. Friday night came. The kids were asleep. The house was quiet. Too quiet. Marcus brought wine. Said he wouldn't stay long. Said he just didn't want me to spend the evening alone. We sat on the couch. The same couch Daniel and I bought when we first moved in back, when we still sat close enough to touch. We talked. We laughed. And then the music started. Not loud. Just something soft playing from my phone. Something slow. Something familiar. He stood up. Held out his hand. I said Marcus, but I didn't say it like I meant to stop him. I said it like I needed him to ask again. And he did. So I took his hand. We danced. Barely moving. Just swaying. His hand rested on my waist. Mine on his shoulder. We didn't speak. Didn't need to. The air between us was full of everything we hadn't said, every glance, every pause, every silent "I see you." And then, he looked at me. And I knew. He leaned in. So slowly. Almost like he was giving me time to stop it. But I didn't. His lips touched mine. Soft. Careful. Then again deeper. Hungrier. I should have stopped it. But I didn't. Because in that moment, I didn't want to be loyal. I didn't want to be good. I didn't want to be Daniel's wife. I just wanted to feel. To matter. To belong to someone, even if just for a night. The kiss grew desperate. Like we'd both been holding our breath for years. Like we'd finally found air in each other. And just as I was about to let go completely, we heard it. A sound. A creak. Movement. A presence. What we didn't know was that we weren't alone. The next morning, he was gone. Marcus, I mean. Left before sunrise. No note. No message. Just silence. I stood in the kitchen, cleaning a glass that wasn't dirty, wiping the same spot on the counter over and over like I could scrub away what happened. But it stayed on my skin, in my breath, in the air between every heartbeat. That afternoon, Daniel came home. Early. He walked in with a calmness that didn't feel real. Dropped his bag by the door. Took off his shoes like it was just another day. But I felt it. Something was wrong. Something was different. He didn't ask how the kids were. Didn't ask how I was. Didn't kiss me. He just walked past me. Without a word. I tried to act normal. Tried to smile. Offered him food, tea, anything. But he barely spoke. Barely looked at me. And the silence wasn't empty, it was full. Full of something I didn't want to name. That night, after the kids were asleep, he went to the bathroom and left his phone on the bed. Unlocked. I never check his phone. Not once in 7 years. But this time, my hands moved before my mind caught up. And there it was. Our messages. Mine and Marcus's. The jokes. The glances. The one-word replies that said too much. He'd seen them. And yet, he said nothing. No yelling. No accusations. No slammed doors. Just silence. He slept on the edge of the bed that night. Not turned away in anger. Just still. Like something had died between us, and he didn't have the strength to bury it. I waited for Marcus to call, to text, to say something, but he didn't. The days passed, and nothing came. No messages, no visits, no explanations, just absence. He vanished, and that hurt more than I expected, because I didn't just lose my husband. I lost myself, and the one person who made me feel seen vanished. Just like that. I used to feel invisible. Now I felt exposed, and completely alone. I still don't know what I was hoping for. An apology? A confrontation? A second chance? Maybe just a text from Marcus. One word. Something to prove that night wasn't just mine to carry. But nothing came. And Daniel. He stayed. Physically, at least. He kissed the kids, went to work, came home, ate dinner. But me? He hasn't looked me in the eyes since. And that silence, it's louder than shouting. Colder than anger. He's here, but he's not with me. And every night I lie next to him, staring at the ceiling, wondering how we got so far apart and how I let someone else reach me first. I keep checking my phone, even now. Still, some part of me, a desperate, foolish part, hopes for a message from Marcus. A reason. An explanation. A sign that I wasn't the only one who felt something real that night. But it never comes. And I hate that I'm still waiting. I keep replaying everything. The small moments. The slow fade. The way I kept asking Daniel to see me not with words, but with gestures. How I wore his favorite dress for dinner one night, and he didn't notice. How I reached for his hand during a movie and he pulled away to check his phone. How I sat on the edge of the bed so many nights, hoping he'd ask what was wrong, but he never did. And then Marcus. With his warmth, his attention, his eyes that didn't look past me. Was I wrong for falling into that? Was it loneliness or weakness? Love or need? I'm still not sure. All I know is nothing feels like home anymore. Not this house. Not this marriage. Not even this body I wake up in every day, carrying a secret that doesn't feel like it belongs to me anymore. I wanted to be seen, but now I feel exposed. I wanted to feel alive, but now I feel hollow. Maybe that's the real price of crossing a line. You don't just lose the people you love. You lose the version of yourself you thought you could still live with. Have you ever let something happen, not because you wanted it, but because you were starving for something real? Not passion, not excitement, just something true. Something that made you feel alive again, if only for a moment. Have you ever looked at yourself after and wondered, was I wrong? Or was I just human? Aching to be loved again? Because that's where I am. Not proud, not angry, just questioning everything. Maybe you've been there. Maybe you're there right now. Maybe you're carrying a silence that's too heavy to hold on your own. If you are, tell me your truth in the comments. No judgment. Just honesty. I read every word. Because I know what it's like to hold something inside that feels like it might break you. And if this story, any part of it, felt like something you've never dared say aloud, then maybe you're not alone. Like this story? Subscribe to Heartfelt Tales Unfold, where silence turns into stories too heavy to carry alone. Tap the bell. The next one might echo something you've buried so deep, you forgot it had a voice. Some betrayals don't happen in bedrooms. They happen in kitchens, in living rooms, on birthdays. They happen in glances, in silences, in moments when someone should have held your hand but didn't. Some hearts don't break loudly. They crack quietly, over time. Over dinners eaten in silence. Over words that go unsaid too many nights in a row. And sometimes, the worst goodbyes aren't the ones where someone walks away. They're the ones where someone stays, but never shows up again. So be careful. Be careful who you stop noticing. Because someone else might start. And what begins as a whisper can end as a wound you carry forever. If this story found a part of you you've been hiding, you're not alone. You never were. We just don't always say it out loud.